Welcome, everyone, to the Media Row podcast with me, Justin Miller, of course, sponsored by Kelly's Little Nipper and Stevens Automotive and Sales. Happy to have everyone here for our final edition of the Media Row podcast until next Tuesday. So you're going to be without my annoying voice for quite a while, but appreciate everyone joining us here today on the show, whether you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, even iHeart, or you're watching on YouTube. Always appreciate everyone commenting, liking, subscribing, all that good stuff. Next Tuesday, we're getting right back into things with sports. I know this week we changed it up, talking with Pete McBride from Nat Geo on Monday. And then today I'll get into in a little bit what today's show is going to be, because it's a special one for me. But next week, we get right back into kind of our sports and Drake-focused normal shows, as we're having Drake Athletic Director Brian Harden on the show to just kind of give us the rundown of all the chaos and all the craziness that has happened in the last few months and last few weeks, honestly, too. But before we get to anything else, need to give a shout out to Kelly's Little Nipper at 1701 East Grand Avenue in Des Moines. I need remember to keep saying historic Kelly's Little Nipper. It's been there forever. It's gone through owners, but Jeff, the brand new owner now, or he's been there for a while, has been incredible, and the place is amazing. And it's been great seeing people comment and talk about how much they love Kelly's Little Nipper and how they maybe never had it before until they listened to the show, which warms my heart. But it's so funny just constantly getting messages of people saying, my God, how did I forget about this place? And it was one of the main places I wanted to go to get a sponsor because of all the stuff that they are able to bring to people. Live music on the weekends. They have trivia on nights like tonight, on Wednesday nights. Trivia to go and have some fun. Great food, great drink, and even better community. Over there at 1701 East Grand Avenue in Des Moines. Kelly's Little Nipper, proud sponsor of the Media Row podcast. When you go to the historic Kelly's Little Nipper, make sure to let them know that Media Row sent you. So I'm going to have to give a little background on this show before we start. But So I'm going to have to give some background on this show before we start, because 2 years ago, my brother and I did something I never saw any of us doing ever. But 2 years ago, we climbed the second tallest mountain in the lower 48 in Colorado, Leadville, Colorado, Mount Elbert. It's over 14,440 feet tall. And it was an amazing experience. It's the toughest thing I've ever physically done in my life. And it was humbling too, very humbling. But it was just such a cool experience as as brothers, to get sappy on you here right before the holiday weekend. But it was such a cool experience to not only the climbing the mountain, yeah, that was the main goal, but we roughed it. We camped out on these dispersed campsites. We fly fished, it was a river runs through it atmosphere. It was such a cool experience, and I want to do something like that again with them. But I thought, hell, July 4th week, it's a holiday week, it's a shorter week. Let's just have some fun and reminisce and goof off and introduce you guys to one of the people I've looked up to the most in my life, my brother, Cameron Miller, joining us now on the Media Row podcast. So do you remember when I called you having this stupid idea of trying to do a climb we've never done or anything remotely close to doing this?
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty out of the blue, and you had insane confidence going into it. Just like this blind
I really did.
confidence, yeah.
I remember though, I had it was art history was the Drake class I was taking. And it was one of those weird finals where because you know how if you finish a final, you're usually able to just leave.
hmm
But for some reason we couldn't. You had to stay the whole hour. Well, it's art history. I got it done in 20 minutes. So I just got super bored. And I remember going through and looking at old photos because a few years prior, Dad and I went to Colorado. And I was like, why is Pikes Peak so popular? Like, just went down these dumb rabbit holes. And I see this photo of Elbert, and I'm like, wait, that looks hikeable. That doesn't look like what the tallest mountain in Colorado and second in the lowest 48 should look like. So,
Hmm.
yeah, I called you and I was like, Cam, you want to climb Mount Elbert? What was like, did you research it right away when I was talking to you, or how did that process go?
Honestly, I don't remember. Uh, I mean, it was definitely one of those things right off the bat where it's like, yeah, this is gonna happen. Sure. Um, but yeah, and then like a little ways down the line, we were talking about trying to do uh a trip over the summer, when we both had some free time and stuff. And yeah, you brought it back up, and I think we just kind of, I don't know, grabbed the starting pistol and started running with it.
Well, and I remember too, because man, December, I was like hitting up Quick Trip every day after class and getting like taquitos. I was like pounding through
We
taquitos.
could do it.
And I remember, yeah, it was exactly like that. I'm on the phone with you. I'm like, if we just lose some weight, if we work out, we can
Hmm.
do this. As I'm like stuffing my face with fried
People take
food.
their dogs up there.
I do remember saying, hell, man, dogs can do it. I really went in with a lot of confidence.
Hmm.
But it was one of the coolest things. And I did enjoy the preparation. I know I went straight to the 4 mile gym where I would go shoot hoops and lift weights in high school and automatically started getting back in a routine of eating better. What were you doing to kind of get in shape for Albert?
I mean, the biggest thing I was thinking about was like lung health and cardio and that stuff. 'Cause I mean, shoot, you get up there and that air's pretty thin. Um, I'd gone out to Idaho a few times and with my father-in-law, and in the fall you get blazing some trails back there. I mean, that air's thin and you're not really, snowy peaks and what was it? 14,000 feet above sea level, for Idaho, and uh, that kind of kicked the crap out of me the first time. It humbled me. So, yeah, I definitely went into it thinking more about like getting my lungs up to the task. So I started running a ton, uh, and with mainly focusing on like my breath and stuff. And um, I think that did help. I mean,
I
once you get
think
up
it
there though,
did.
it's a whole
Yeah,
different battle. Once you're putting one foot out, after the other and just climbing the whole time. Um, yeah, I mean, it still kicked the crap out of you.
oh, I mean, I still think you handled it better than I did. Like I felt like it really humbled me for one thing. Well, because my whole thing, Dad and I 2 years earlier did the Manitou incline, and
Yeah,
that I felt it was hard, but I felt like I handled it really well. So yeah, I was like, oh, what's an extra 12,440
yeah,
feet? What's
easy.
easy? And so I remember though, I lost some weight, got in shape, but right away was like, oh my God, I should have been doing way more leg stuff, like hiking uphill on uneven terrain. Like there was a lot going through my head on that walk down of things I would have done differently. And was there anything for you that you were like, oh, next time I'm doing X, Y, and Z?
Uh, Honestly, probably just running more and similar to what you're saying, uh, like running, like trail running essentially. Um, but I think if we went again, I think we could handle it pretty well. I think it was mostly just that first time getting up there and getting a feel for it.
Well, and two, like it was one of those where there was no way we weren't going to get to the top. Like
Oh yeah,
we
I
had
mean,
driven this far, we had talked about it. We made a Google Doc of like things we were gonna do.
Yeah.
So like there's too much that we had planned for us to be like, oh man, it's just too hard and head back.
Oh, and yeah, absolutely. And it was one of the, I mean, shoot, we were at the trailhead at what, 5:30. Um, we got up so early that day, a couple hours before the sun, and yeah, I think we were getting to the trailhead at first light. So that was the other thing. It's like we had so much time.
Yeah.
Like there was no we could have taken a step and a break after each step. Uh, we were gonna get there, even though even if it took us all day.
Which honestly, we there was a point where I felt I was taking 5 steps and being like,
Oh yeah.
Cam, I need to catch a
Oh, we
breath.
both were.
It was that I felt like my thighs had gasoline just getting
Mhm.
like injected into my veins.
Oh yeah.
And like, or sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it was a good feeling though. It always felt hard, but never impossible. A little
Yeah,
disheartening.
really disheartening.
Those false summits take a little bit
I
of
see
wind out
what
of
you're
yourself.
saying. Because there was three. There's three false
Hmm.
summits. And I remember the
Even like kind of
first,
3.5, wasn't
yeah,
there?
yeah. And I remember we lost, or I lost count of how many, because you're just kind of like thinking about your next painful step.
Yep.
But I remember looking up and being like, that's got to be it. I see people. And taking our steps up there, and then people are still coming down. I'm
Yeah.
like, you gotta be kidding me. No way.
And of course, every person, I mean, people get out there at 2, 3 in the morning. They're hitting the peak at sunrise, which
Would be beautiful.
power to them. Like, goodness gracious. But, yeah, I mean, you get towards the top and there's people just coming down at you constantly, just like, oh, you're so close. 20 more minutes, 20 more. The biggest lie. You're never close.
Which, which part of me at the start was like, shut up. I'm in pain. Like, don't talk to me. Then it got to a point where I was like, thank God for those people because it did kind of motivate me to my next step.
Mm.
But we were basically sponsored by Campbell's too on this trip with how
Campbell's and
much
Dinty Moore.
what was Dinty Moore? What's
That was
that?
the beef stew.
Oh, that was the beef stew.
Hmm.
But yeah, I remember us pausing like midway up and being like, we need to get food in us. We're not hungry. And we
Hmm.
just like ate our cold Campbell's. But even moments like that, like I still think about, especially, since we're at our 2 year anniversary of this crazy trip, I was thinking about that moment and how pretty everything was. Like
Oh
everything
yeah.
worked out in our favor on this trip, which was pretty incredible.
Hmm.
And I would do it again in a heartbeat, no question.
Oh, for sure. Uh, yeah, I'd go back. I'd just bring a little bit more water, more snacks, less cans of soup.
More water for me as well.
Hmm.
But I remember too what was cool about this trip because you were really getting, I mean, you're the nature guy. You can start fires without any help. Like you've gone full survivor man. I'm still learning that stuff. So it was cool even months before we even leave Iowa of like talking to you about what do I need to buy? What do I need to look at? And I mean, I still didn't take your advice because, like the trek with Elbert, I went in really confident, thinking I would catch a trout fly fishing like it was no issue. And I couldn't even tie the line correctly at the start. And so I went into a lot of things really confident with this trip, but it was a cool experience of learning everything, or not everything, but a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty big camping trip to hang your hat on as like your first even we were car camping, but not entirely roughing it, but it's a solid wilderness adventure.
It was, I mean, I would do it again in a heartbeat.
Absolutely.
Uh, I remember just being so excited to what was okay, before I say my favorite part of the Elbert section of our trip, What was your favorite part? Was it just completing the climb, or was there a certain thing that stuck out to you?
So I guess, do you mean the entire Colorado trip or just the day
Just
of Elbert?
the day of Elbert, because there was something that happened on the day of Elbert that I still am like, that was the best thing. That was the coolest thing we could have done.
I mean, saw a great horned lark. That's always good. I
Oh
don't know
yeah,
what
for
the
for the
audience
listeners,
of
they
you know,
Cam's an 80-year-old man trapped in a 28-year-old's body. Like
yeah.
you're a
I don't know
bird
what the
watcher.
overlap of bird watchers and people who listen to your podcast are, but saw a lot of cool critters, uh, including some right at the summit there. But uh, I mean, you can't really be. It's kind of an unfair competition. You can't really be like when you get to the tippy top, you see that sign. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty spectacular. Oh, and then getting to the top, um, and realizing that you didn't bring your cardboard sign, that
Oh
you were
yeah.
all
I
freaking
forgot
out
all
about it.
about that.
Everybody does this in their pictures, and then you left it in the trunk of the car.
Well, because yeah, you see on TikTok and Instagram, everybody holds up a dumb cardboard sign that says Mount Elbert, 4,440 feet. So I made one on our drive down there. I'm like, we're gonna hold this. We're gonna look like experts. We're gonna look so cool. And yeah, we get up there and I like unzip my bag, throwing out empty cans of Campbell's. Nothing in there. Left it. I forgot about that.
What was your highlight?
So, of course, like when you get up there and you just like, we could see Pikes Peak.
Mm,
And that's, I mean, I
that
remember we looked
puny
it up.
little sand, that freaking mole mound they call a mountain.
But that was so cool. The Twin Lakes beneath us, how the trees we popped out of looked like just green dots, didn't
Hmm.
even look real. But being able to grab my phone and seeing we had just enough service to FaceTime and surprise mom at work,
Yeah.
that was probably my favorite because it was just funny for her to be like, "Is everything okay?" And then we're like, "Yeah." And we turn it around and you just see this huge
Mhm.
landscape of snow-covered mountains.
Just standing on top of the West.
Which it is crazy. Like, I remember when we were planning it, you mentioning when you're trying to, of course, keep me realistic and not have dogs can do it, Justin, planning everything. You were like, you do realize this is over half the size of Everest, right? And again, I was like probably stuffing my mouth with donuts or something. I'm like, yeah, but dogs do it. Dogs do it. People run up it all the time. There's a trail.
That was pretty accurate every night at camp when we were slamming zebra cakes and building up to Elbert.
I do. Uh, One last thing, then I want to get to like our whole trip because we did a lot of really cool stuff on the trip. But we the section where the rock was like basically loose because
Hmm.
most of it is a trail for people who haven't looked it up or even done Albert. It's a trail to the top. It is relatively easy, as they say, for like
Yeah.
beginners. But there is a section on one of those damn false summits that is like slit rock. That was a moment where I remember kind of being, because I'm already weak, and I'm like,
Hmm.
this is terrifying. And going down it was way worse too. You had to like scoot down the hill.
Yeah. Definitely the most technical part of the trail. Um, yeah, and like you said, you're kind of going down this like single lane turn, pretty steep, definitely more than like a 45-degree angle, and then you look down your left side and it's just straight shot down into this valley, and yeah, like you said, your knees and calves are a little tense and shaky already, but good little shot of adrenaline to get you back to the tree line.
That's a good way to put it. Like if you needed energy, there's your energy peeking
That'll do
over
it.
and being like, oh, if I make a wrong step, I'm seeing the Twin Lakes pretty fast. So, but and then for the listeners, we should probably tell the story of what you did to me on the way down because I was grumpy. I mean, I was exhausted. I was ready. I was
Oh
like,
yeah.
I need to see this parking lot and see our car. I am weak to the like I'm gone. Everything I had is out of me. And what did you do?
Yeah, so I mean it's the first like mile of the trail is just switchbacks back down to the parking lot. And there is one point in the trail, uh pretty darn close to the parking lot where it converges with the Continental Divide Trail, and there's not a super clear sign of which way you should go, for which trail to, parking lot, Elbert, Continental Divide. Uh, and we get to that fork, and we start going down it for a ways, and then
And I
I,
haven't said a word to you for like an hour at this
yeah,
point.
it's been
Like
pretty quiet, pretty tense couple last switchbacks. And yeah, I turned to Justin and I go, "Dude, shoot, we've gone the wrong way. We have to go back." And yeah, there was you had homicidal shark eyes for a moment.
it's like Quint when he's like, then they roll over black. I was, yeah, I was like, what the hell did you just say to me? You're the mountain man. You should not be the one making mistakes. And I remember you passing me on the trail going, oh no, we're going the right way. And I was just frozen, like, what an ass, but like respect because it kicked me out of my funk right away. I started laughing, probably said a few other words to you, but it was pretty funny. Like
Yeah,
respect out of that one. Good goof out of you. But
couple of
the
silly boys.
going down the mountain. But I remember too, we were thinking like, oh, we'll stay another day after we do Elbert. We ended up not doing that. We ended up heading home earlier because we woke up and we are like still exhausted, like didn't really want to go hiking. But
Yeah.
it was that trip I think was so cool too because again, like our family dynamic, we had divorced parents, so we were all over the place. And it was
Mhm.
cool to have a trip of us together doing something that we'd never done before out of our
Mhm.
comfort zone and like having that moment to get sentimental here for a second. It was a really cool experience.
Oh, absolutely. It was spectacular. And yeah, no one I'd rather get to the top of the Rockies with.
And then too, the trip had so many mini moments outside of the mountain. Like the mountain was great, but we did a part of the Continental Divide Trail, and that honestly
Hmm.
was my favorite day.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was a really fun little leg. Um, yeah, was that the same day where we came out to that wide open glen down into the valley before it? Yeah,
Yeah.
that was pretty nice. Eating some ramen out there and taking a nap in the sun.
Yeah, we both fell asleep on the ground. Like
Yep.
but that was cool because that one you felt like that was Colorado. You know, when you
Oh yeah.
picture it, that was just a really cool trip. It wasn't a hard trail, but it was really long and it was just a great way to spend a whole day. But then we were doing those dispersed camp sites, of course, because
Yep.
we were like, I want to get away from people. I don't want to be near campers. And we saw a moose the first day. Like we parked, and I remember you tapping me, being like, "Do you hear that?" And then we walked over by the little ravine we're at, and there's a little spike.
Yep. That was pretty neat. And um yeah, a lot of cool wildlife out of there. We had those beavers that were along the river that we camped by, popping their tails at night. And yeah, they were pretty comfortable with us too. They were coming up when we were sitting there on the bank. They were right there next to us, and they were climbing up on the opposite bank and snacking on their willow and stuff. But um yeah, it was just all fantastic sitting around the campfire. Uh yeah, good trip.
Uh, were you reading Lonesome Dove for like the 18th time at that moment? Because I remember I was reading an Edward
No.
Abbey book, but I don't remember what you picked out.
I think I was It was a Jennifer Ackerman book.
Cam's a huge reader too, for those who don't know.
And yeah, here's the two for it was What an Owl Knows by Jennifer Ackerman
Oh yeah.
for any fellow birders and readers out there. Phenomenal book. What
But
that owl do.
what the owl do? But no, there's just so many little things. One of my favorite moments was taking you to Garden of the Gods because you had never seen
That
that.
was
I
neat.
saw it with my dad, and I remember at first you weren't all hyped about it because it was packed. And once you get through that area, and then you feel like you're transported to the Southwest, which I love. But I
Mhm.
always made fun of you for the bird watching, like stopping every 5 seconds. What was that? What was
Mhm.
that? But there was a
Correctly
cool.
identifying some birds while other people around us were incorrectly identifying them. So
Excuse me there. That's a Stiller's Jay. That was my favorite bird. That was the only one I remember. That was my
that's a good
favorite
bird.
one. But so now we've done Elbert. We've seen the Everglades. We went to that national park with mom
Mhm.
and that side of the family this April, which was amazing. It was like my first legit national park because I'd
Yeah.
been to St. Louis with the Arch. And while that is a national park, it doesn't feel like a national park, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So Everglades was awesome. So what's our next? I got a few down as what I want to do for our next trip, but have you thought of anything that you would want to do?
Um, Brand new. I don't have anything in the scopes. I want to get a paddle in your hand, get you up into the boundary waters.
Oh yeah, you
Um,
just did that a month
yep,
ago, two
just
months
did my
ago.
first run of the boundary waters. Pretty fantastic, but I think you'd get a kick out of that. That's hard work, but um,
Harder than Elbert?
different.
Different.
I
Okay.
yeah. Um, Hard in different ways. I think Elbert was harder.
But this one too, like it's hard for a longer amount of time because you're having to portage so much. You're having to move around, aren't you?
Yeah, so me and two of my best friends and so we each had a big ol' they're these portage packs. They sit lower on your shoulders and they're wider. They're just
Okay.
big big rectangle bags. And so, you're carrying every single thing that you would need from point A to wherever you go. And yeah, if it's not on your back or on your person, if it's not in your canoe, it's not coming with. Um, but it honestly having the portages and having the longer extent paddling kind of helps balance it out. You
Hmm.
never really get exhausted. On a normal day, we had some pretty windy days cutting across some pretty big lakes, which ended up being pretty scary. But nobody got in the water unintentionally. Um, that's all you want up there. That's rule one, don't fall in.
I've always wanted to go to the Boundary Waters because Ross, who was the host, of course, of the Morning Rush, which I did for a while, he goes up there all the time to fish, and it just
Mhm.
looks amazing. So that's a good one. That's I would do that in a heartbeat with you. I've heard the bugs suck, but you know what? You can prepare for that.
Yeah, and we went uh sort of mid to late May, kind of, couple weeks after ice breaks. Not too bad.
Okay.
Um, yeah, if you were to go up there right now, I think the black flies would carry you away.
The one I thought of because of course because I texted you a few weeks ago being like, all right, it's just gonna happen. We're gonna go to see the Southwest next summer. It's just gonna have to happen. So I texted dad, of course, because he's the one who's always wanted to take us there as well. But we would do, of course, Arches, Zion, Grand Canyon, that whole trip, make it a big old deal. But when we go to Zion, I want to do Angel's Landing. Have you seen that hike?
Mm-mm.
Okay, you gotta look it up. It's incredible. So it's basically on a cliff edge. There are ropes, like you're not just like out in the middle
Right.
of nowhere, but That one looks really cool, and I can't remember how tall it is. This may be one I have to edit out, but I think it's like 8,000 something feet. Like it's a trek.
Healthy.
So, yeah, I want to do that one. I think that would be really cool. And then I've been trying to convince Megan. I want to do 1 year where you do kind of the Northwest, where you do Yellowstone, Grand Tetons Glacier, and then I would love, this is like the fever dream, to go see Banff too and
Oh yeah,
hike around there. I
that'd be
think
pretty nice.
those are my bucket list places.
Yeah, I mean, I to steal your answer, then yeah, all those uh, for my next big trip. But yeah, do some of those big national parks and uh, redwoods. That's a big one. I've
Yeah.
my wife and I've been tossing around lately. Um, a little more expensive to get out to California, but
Yeah, okay, dumb question here, but maybe you know the answer. What do we do? Let's say we're like, we're going to backpack Yosemite National Park. We're going to do the disperse where we have our tent, all of our gear. How do we get that on a plane? Because we have our knives for cooking and things
I
like
think you could
that.
just carry them on in your pockets and stuff. I think they're pretty chill with it.
You just tell
Um,
them it's for a
yeah,
national park. Oh, okay.
yeah. Oh, I'm going hunting out west. Um, just kidding. Don't do that. What's your lawyer situation on this show? Uh, I don't know for sure. I'm pretty sure you can pack stuff in your carry-on or ship it out there.
Oh, ship
Uh,
it's probably what you need to do. I didn't even think of
yeah.
that.
But so yeah, nobody try to do anything based off of this podcast.
Well, and then I want to do Half Dome too. Speaking of, of Yosemite, have you seen
Half
the?
Dome would be pretty nuts.
That one may be the one I'm thinking of. That's like 8,000. That seems more correct now than
Well,
the
and I think you
Angel's
got to
Landing.
climb over other people too. That thing looks like a shopping mall.
Yeah, but I'd do it. I
Oh
I
yeah, you
I
gotta.
think if we're there, you'd be like, it's
Yeah,
only 8,000 feet too. Here comes confidence, Justin.
yeah,
It's 8,000.
easy.
There's
There's
ropes at least
ropes.
on this one.
Might as well have escalators.
Yeah, I'll be easy. I,
Yeah,
I I haven't seen dogs do this one though, so might be a little
because they
more
don't know how to
challenging.
use ropes.
They don't know how to use ropes.
Yep.
But that's, I mean, those are my bucket list ones. Um, but to kind of wrap up, I do want to ask you what got you in this kick? Because when we were growing up, you weren't always big into hiking and nature.
Not at all.
Yeah, at all. And then it felt like all of a sudden you were like, "Have you read Into the Wild?" I'm like, "Yeah, I love that book." And then it was we're rewatching Survivor Mans. We were always talking about hiking, and you took it to an extreme where you're over here like really learning how to provide for yourself, and it's always crazy to see what you do.
Uh, yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think it all started, kind of like in high school. I started really getting into like bushcrafting and woodcraft stuff, and I started watching people on YouTube. And then I started going out to my public lands and state parks and stuff, and uh, kind of playing around, practicing around what I could. Started figuring out how to build shelters, sleeping out in those shelters and stuff, and um, yeah, it just all kind of snowballed, and I really enjoyed this sort of thing, and uh, I don't know, found a lot of peace and solitude in nature. So just kept exploring that. Moved up here to Wisconsin and got obsessed with birds, and yeah, that kind of, started its own snowball effect, and um, yeah, I think it's just pretty amazing how all that stuff works out there, and you know, nature's got its own cycle, and I don't want to get too, preachy or hippy dippy, whatever, but yeah, I just think there's a lot of beauty in nature, and um, it's definitely, like I said, where I find the most peace, and anything I can do to keep myself out there for longer periods of time is what I want to spend my time doing.
Well, of course, we'll have to get to kayaking this year. We got a trip already planned for this summer. But yeah, we got to get to where we always go kayaking near mom, where talk
Yep.
about just piece of national and public land where you get to come and go right there as you're
Mm-hmm.
fishing. I mean, it's as God
Oh,
God intended.
yep. Ice cold slushy in your hand. Uh, yeah, listening to the drone of the highway in the background and yeah, the way God intended.
Yes, right there with
Hmm.
come and go.
Come and go, and now at Casey's.
Seriously, thank you for doing this for me. I appreciated it. I thought it would
Yeah.
be something fun to do with the holidays coming up. I had Pete McBride from Nat Geo talking about public and national lands. I was like, screw it. This is a perfect timing to talk about our trip and how much we loved being out there in nature and tent camping and waking up freezing when there was like frost on our tent, but still loving every second of it.
Oh, absolutely.
An amazing, amazing week of shows. Thank you to Pete McBride on Monday. Thank you, of course, to my brother today joining us. And thank you to all the listeners liking, commenting, sharing, all that great stuff. Really appreciate it. Couldn't do any of this without you. It means the world. And before we wrap up and get you sent off on your holiday week, need to give a shout out to our guys at Stevens Automotive and Sales, 5320 Northwest Beaver Drive in Johnston, Iowa. 35 years of family owned and operated in the state. They are loyal. They communicate effectively. You know exactly what is going on with your car in the hands that the car is in. And finally, no BS. That is their best trait. They're going to shoot it straight with you, and those are the people you want working on your car. They're going to make sure the car is ready to go. They're going to make sure you're ready to go. Make sure you are ready to be safe on the road. Stevens Automotive and Sales, 35 years of family owned and operated here in this state. No better people to go get your car checked out for an oil change, any work, or you're looking to buy or sell. Stevens Automotive is the place to go. Stevens Automotive and Sales, 5320 Northwest Beaver Drive in Johnston, Iowa. When you go to Stevens, make sure to let them know that Media Row sent you. Have a great July 4th weekend, everyone. We will see you Tuesday with Brian Harden joining us, the Drake Athletic Director, here on the Media Row podcast. I'm going to get out of here because I'm going to Missouri with Megan and her family, going to have a blast, and going to get ready to watch the best July 4th movie out there, and that is Jaws. No room for debate. We will see you on Wednesday.